Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Michael, Bill, and Kevin are here again to discuss the wasteless world. And because you enjoy so much the discussion about time and timing yesterday, we prepared, or I prepared, and they are surprised, something special for you. Because I would like to talk about the sound of time. And it may sound strange, but I think we came to very interesting discussion topics. And let me ask you both straight one question. Is there any sound which is in yourself, in your mind, connected to time?
As we discussed last time, I'm not even sure that time exists. you, you know, Kevin, you're getting ready to say something. What?
Well, I was thinking, as a kid, having to go to school every day, it was bell ringing. The bell would ring, and we had to go into the classroom, and the bell would ring, then we had new lessons, and the bell would ring, and it was lunch, and the bell would ring, and we had to go back into lessons, then the bell would ring, and we could go home. And it was kind of a sound of time, but it certainly made the day longer, not shorter, having to listen to these bells. And a more romanticized thing, I've never, none of us have experienced it, but imagine 200 or 300 years ago when cities would have town criers. So people would go around ringing bells, telling you the time and saying that all was well. I mean, that would be a more reassuring sound of time.
I have the same question today in the noontime, and I get several answers. But what was interesting, the event, unfortunately, the connection was not good and it was not, so we have to finish early. But what was interesting that not a single answer was speaking about the ticking of the clock. You said right now the ringing, the bell, of course, but the ticking, which for me, when I was a kid again, was something like a connection to the sound of the time. Right now I have very different image, but before this connection came to my mind first. But no one as from the speakers mentioned this. That was interesting.
The thought that came to mind, and I don't know why it did, but the thought that came to mind when you asked the question was the sound of the ocean. And to me, there have been several major events in my life that had to do with the ocean. Good events, bad events, and somehow I can still remember after my divorce going down to the ocean and trying to work things out in my mind, trying to understand. And it suddenly came to me that the ocean, I mean, I was feeling pain, but the ocean has seen this before. How many gazillion times have people taken their problems to the ocean? So, um, so when you talk about the sound of time, the sound of life happening, going on, that was the first thought that came to my mind.
And that's a great one. I think that no matter whether time exists or not, it is probably here. If we can see it, if we can measure it, that's another question. But with your last sentence, you take generally the life, you take the ocean, and that's exactly because even the time came in waves. Sometimes it seems like there is a minute, takes like a year. The other time, a year goes so fast that a minute pass away. And that's generally very similar to the ocean or to the mountains. Just the mountains, we cannot see the movement of the mountains. They are moving as well. Just we are living too short to see this. But it was night. Generally, I realize in the afternoon that I have this discussion, I realize how difficult the topic is. Because I was struggling myself, and that's curious, I was struggling myself to dive deeper. But I think it has to be explored. Because if we do understand what is the time, that it is the tool to control humans. And today I was very surprised, or today, I asked my daughter whether why time was invented. And you know, she's not watching my work, not at all. But she will answer exactly as you or Kevin. She said, this is to control the humans. And she's 20. And generally she watch a little bit, but she's not interested in my work. I was so surprised about the answer because I do not speak about it at home, you know. And I was so surprised that 20 years young lady or girl speaks about it. Feels exactly as you do or as we do. So interesting. And I think we should dedicate a lot of to time as we discussed it last time, because it was so interesting that it should grow up, this topic, within and outside. So we have to spread it.
And probably time means different things to different people. I suspect that different people experience it and are familiar with it or relate to it differently than the next person. People who do not have purpose and are wandering, as compared to people who are totally engaged and immersed in, for example, helping other people, or and time probably goes by very quickly for them. And I remember when I was younger and there were 3 kids at home and I was climbing the corporate ladder and so on. Time went very quickly. Oh, all of a sudden I was 30. All of a sudden I was 40. All of a sudden I was 50. It just went very quickly. So if you ask 100 people, what is time? Define time. It would be interesting to see the spectrum of answers that you would get.
Yeah, and people's relationship to time, because some people use time, some people waste time, some people gain time, some people are timeless. It's really, really interesting. But if you think about it in those terms, we've turned time into a commodity. If it's something to be used, if it's something to be saved, if it's something to be spent, then it's then that's a strange relationship to time.
And I don't know if you know it, but there exists a company called Time Incorporated. It's a real company.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So, a friend of mine, he wanted to be when he was younger, a Grand Prix racing driver. So he did all the stuff that rich kids do, started karting and doing this and that and going up through the fields. And then eventually he realized that he could never be a Grand Prix driver because his relationship with time wasn't what was needed. These Grand Prix racing drivers are born, they're not made. They have a different reaction time to the rest of us. So they can make decisions in 3 dimensions at lightning quick speed that the rest of us simply cannot do. And so for them, time is different to our time. Their time is on a different stream, on a different level.
I suspect that there are people who feel hatred towards time, either because their looks are changing or because they think that the best part of their life is behind them, or I don't know why, but I suspect that some people hate time.
I am sure. And just I would like to say something. Today is June 21st, 2023. And today, the Industry 5.0 ambassador, and Bill, you know him, Swain, is 74. Today is his birthday. And I would like to greet him with this. We spoke today in the morning. And I would like to say one more thing. Today, and as we said many times, I do not believe in coincidence, and none of you do. Norwegian government, the Minister of Environment and Climate, met some other people, have a conference, and they spoke for the first time officially about Industry 5.0. And it was Swain who introduced Industry 5.0 to Esben, which is the name of the minister. So interesting.
That's major. That's major.
Very interesting. So it is exactly as you says, because there are moments, I think that they are generally, it's not about the general feeling or mood about time, but there are moments in which you hate the time. If somebody
it's interesting. There's I don't know if you've, I can't remember the name of the author, but there's a book called The Blind Watchmaker, and it's a physics book. It's about who created the galaxy or who created the universe, and the conclusion is that whoever did it had to be blind because there are so many rules that get disobeyed and things that don't work and things we can't understand and strange events. And he has to be a watchmaker because the only law which is constant is the time only moves in one direction.
do you know the famous Prague clock?
Yes.
Orloj, it's called Orloj. So generally it's astronomical clock on a tower in the middle of Prague. The guy who made it was blind.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And it is so beautiful.
And
is that a coincidence? I think not.
No.
I don't think so. You know, no, generally it was different. I think, if I do remember properly, sorry if I'm not accurate about the story, he was not blind at the beginning, but he made the clock so beautiful that they blind him after that he cannot do any second one. And then the clock get broken and they asked him to repair, and he was able to repair it even being blind. I think this is the story. Not sure about this Czech history, and so not sure, but I think this is the story. So originally he was not blind, but then because of, we can say right now, because of the power of touch, his touch remember. So it's quite interesting. So I think that we should spend, really the people should spend more time thinking about the time and utilizing it best, not to waste it.
Yeah, and figuring out their relationship with it or to it. What is time to them? And I think it's so interesting that most laws of physics can be reversed, but not time can only go in one direction. So it shows that it is it's really important. It must be really important for the blind watchmaker that he made the universe where time only went forward and not backwards.
So interesting topic. And I do fully agree that every single one of us, in every single moment, we feel the time different. What is interesting, what I see here around me in the growing network, is the fact that more and more people stop wearing watches, wristwatch generally. Some of them did because they have mobile and there is a watch. On the other hand, the watch for some time was a fashion accessory. Right now it's coming again to be a fashion accessory or the status. So if you have a watch for 100 million, whatever, it's a status, so it's nothing else. But many people say that they stop using, for example, alarm clocks. And I never noticed it before before I started to speak about it, nobody spoke about it. So it's quite interesting that we probably changed the way how we even work with the time today in a time of most accurate measurements of time in a history. Which indicates that we are losing the boundaries or the limits which somebody tried to apply to our life by controlling us. So I hope that we are making us free.
Yeah, if you think the original calendars, or at least these ancient megaliths, they were built to show the summer solstice and the winter solstice. I mean, that was accurate enough for them. 2 days in a year, where they needed to know precisely the time, but more the day than the time. So these super high accurate hyperwatches, accurate, these we don't need them. It would be really nice if we could relax a little bit more and not be so fixed on things like timetables, but then the world would fall apart.
I apologize. I'm stuck on something that we said a few minutes ago. Can time really only go in one direction? So there's lots of fiction books about traveling in time and so on. But we've proven that if you go fast enough, time slows down. So maybe we just have to go faster and it will stop or go back. I keep telling myself that there's so much that I don't know. I keep discovering new things. And maybe someday somebody will discover the time machine.
At the moment, it's I think it's the second law of thermodynamics is the rule which says that time can only go in one direction. And it's something to do with entropy. Don't ask me anything more than that, because it's way past my basic knowledge.
Rules are made to be broken.
Yeah.
We learned that in the 60s.
On the other hand, we have been told in our lives many times it's not possible, because the people who told you that never tried. So you cannot prevent ways happen. So I did. The bumblebee do not know that he cannot fly because his wings are too short and the body too big, and it's flying. So simple it is. So I think that we put ourselves not only behind the bars by the time measurement devices, but by the approach. And I just reached one interesting thing in the noontime discussion. It was generally the religion. The religion is here for a long time. I am not religious myself, so but I do not want to blame on a religion. I just would like to point out one interesting thing. The religion didn't change in centuries. It's the principles. It's all the time the same. So they do not develop. They stay the same. Maybe they are the time travelers from the past watching the future. I can travel only in the future. I didn't try it to go. What it will help me if I go to the past? I can change the future. So this is why I go in one direction. And the fact is, it's like a river. So, and you swim against the stream if you go in the future. So it will be much more easier to swim with the stream. So I think it may be possible. And maybe religion is one example of the time travel, I don't know, organization or whatever. I do not know how to express it, but they did not change. Maybe books has different fonts, but the content remain the same. They are different ones, of course, but still the same. So it's quite interesting. And this came to my mind during the noon discussion on the same topic. And then we came to the time and the sound generally, because in churches they are built that you say the word and the sound resonates all across. So it's somehow connected. And maybe this is the connection of the time and sound. Not sure. Not sure. And I don't know whether there is something which is similar to religion, which remain unchanged. I don't think so. I don't speak about earth and sky and this, but I speak about the human, what human created, because religion is human created. So same as time, measurement.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I'm sorry, Kevin.
No, go on, Bill.
What else has not changed? Nature has not changed. And then you added anything else that man has made. But nature doesn't change. And you mentioned church, and I thought, boy, that is the last thing on my list of the sound of time. And I don't know why that reaction hit me. Anyhow, okay, so nature has not changed.
Right. I didn't mention, sorry, so you are right.
But I was thinking about not so much time travel, but time machines. If you were a stonemason in the 15th century and you were building a cathedral, you are building something which is going to go forwards hundreds of years into a future that you yourself cannot possibly travel to. So in a way, a lot of people, they left their marks. The builders left things and children's shoes and all sorts of strange mementos. Send a bit of themselves into the future. So in a way, that's the closest I can think of a time machine.
I was today in the morning riding on an electric unicycle to deliver something, and I came to a house which was taken down. Generally, it looks like 50 years, 60 years old house, and it was taken down a few weeks ago. So the house was there for 60 years or 100, I don't know. And when I came closer, there was a big cloud of dust. And I was wondering what it is. And you know what they did? They take the old stable platform away and they put from trucks trash inside as a groundstone for next building. And this is why we can build the future on the basements or on the groundstones put there 100 years ago, but we are not able to do it on those which are put there 10 years ago, because we built our future on a waste, on a landfill generally. And it's what is even more crazier, it's illegal, and it was in front of a office or a governmental office which is responsible for controlling this. You know, I make a short video. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. And I'm sure not a single one of these men who constructed the big churches which you mentioned ever thought, I will build it on a trash because it's cheaper.
No.
They will never, ever.
No, they built it to last forever and built it as beautiful as they possibly could with every piece of skill that they had.
And forever means time.
Yeah. And imagine, you may not be able to live 400 years, but 400 years in the future, someone could read your name that you carved into a hidden piece of that church or that cathedral.
Do you feel this during preparation of your books? Do you feel this, you will be there even if you are not there?
Yes, that's the great thing, because I think I described it once before. When you have a book published, then suddenly you're leaving behind footprints in the sands of time. You leave behind something that shows that you were there.
I feel that a little bit, Kevin, but more than that, the strongest feeling I have when I finish a book is that there was something in here that needed to get out and be expressed. Expressed to who? I don't know that I know that. Just to be said, just to find words. So it's really I'm doing this for myself, not for future generations.
On the other hand, the fact is that the footprints will be left in the sand.
Right. Right. Everybody leaves footprints, whether they publish a book or not. Everybody leaves footprints. If they smile at a child, the child remembers it, and 50 years later are a different person, or have it unlocked a door for the child. So you never know what footprints you're going to leave.
And I think that's the power of Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, all of these things. It gives us all the chance to say, look, I'm here, I exist, I've made this, which I'm sure it's why they are so popular.
On the other hand, did you try to analyze your Facebook footprint 2 years later? They erased the memories. There is nothing. On Twitter, 2 years. LinkedIn, you will not find analytics longer than 2 years. Facebook, I think 3 years or a little bit more than 2 years. Generally, I don't know whether this is deleted, but it is not accessible for you anymore because someone else hold the switch. And generally today, I try to check I receive a message from LinkedIn that my network was reduced. The followers has been reduced by the dead account and not active account, something like that sounds better. So I was happy because it was just few hundred people. You know, some people report when this happened, they report thousands of people. So for me, it's a confirmation that the network was built right. So it's a humans who are active, who watch and so on, and not machine, not algorithm. It was quite interesting. So I think that one of the disadvantages of the social media is generally that you get, it's so much information, that's one thing. So to get this one in a memory is very hard. And the second is, if you remember, oh, I have seen that, and you remember on Facebook, immediately you know you will not find it anymore. Because the same second there was 1 million other information. So I have some way how to generate, at least on LinkedIn, how I can find all the things, but it's not easy at all. And it's generally a way how I leave the footprints to be able to find the footprints.
But imagine 100 years ago, you would, if you were living in the UK, you would have your name registered in the newspaper when you were born, in the church when you were christened, and in the newspaper again when you died. And for some, that was it. 3 mentions their whole lives that they ever existed, which is not much of a footprint. So the attraction of social media, it's you know, we all want to be recognized, we all want to be known, and yeah, I really understand why people love it, and young people especially. It really gives them the opportunity to say, "Hey, here I am," and make a statement about themselves.
I have to say that I have 20 years old daughter. She is creating stuff, but generally she does not want to be seen. She liked to watch because it generally she spent her time on it. But when she produced something, it's like leaving less footprints, but more impressive ones. And just now we have 10 more minutes has been announced, so 10 more minutes to go. One of the time measurement has alarmed us. 10 minutes.
It's controlling us.
It is.
So do you think that the sound of time, or that the relationship with time will be different if we could go 100 years ahead or 500 years ahead? Will our relationship with time have changed? Has it
I
changed if you go back 500 years? Certainly, our relationship with time, uh, on my cell phone, I've got on the calendar, and today I have 5 things to do. This is one of them. But 500 years ago, of course, we didn't have cell phones, but did we have 5 things that needed to be done today, or did we have breakfast, go out to the field and work, come home? So our lives have become busier, and what will our life be in 500 years? What will our relationship with time be? Will that continue to morph?
I will have tomorrow, I am delivering the next webinar in Philippines. And I was informed that they are in touch with the indigenous communities, which generally live still without watches, without anything. So I ask, if possible, to ask the question, because we opened this question last time, and I ask whether they can get for me the information, how these people work with time, how they feel the time, or what is it? Because generally, if you look at animals, animals don't have any watches and similar stuff, and still day and night, it's fine for them. When there is time to sleep, they sleep. When there is time to work, they work. And it's quite interesting. So I think that the relationship between human and time will change. That's my opinion in 500 years.
I hope so too. I think that 300 years ago or 500 years ago, we'd be working extremely busy during summer, autumn, getting everything ready for the winter. And then in the dark evenings, when we couldn't be working out in the fields, then we had time to learn music or learn to do other things, entertain ourselves or acquire different kinds of skills, learn to sing, learn to whatever it was. And with all this machines and artificial intelligence, the human benefit must be that we will have time to evolve and develop our sense of pleasure rather than our sense of work and duty. So if we want to paint, we could learn to paint. If we want to write, we could learn to write. If we want to sing, we could learn to sing. At least hopefully those generations would have the opportunity to find more enlightened skills than the skill of hard work.
And you're beginning to see that where you are, Kevin, with the reduction to the 4-day week. They're running some trials now, and with getting, as I understand, good results. But that's man changing its relationship to time a little bit. And then what do people do with that extra day? Do they learn to sing or to write or to dance or find pleasure in something? So that will be an interesting when they finally write the final conclusions to that experiment. It'll be interesting to see what people do with their extra time.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people, it'd be like when you see these videos of circus animals when they're released back into the wild. It takes them a while just to build up the courage to walk on grass. And we've been so conditioned that we will also need time to readjust.
Good point. Right.
I think there is one issue in these trials. It's easy to cut the 5 days week to 4 days week, but we are not delivering at least indication what the people should do with the remaining time. And I think this is because we haven't learned it in school. We haven't learned it anywhere. We have some free time, but can you imagine? Many say, I am in work because I cannot be longer at home. So what will these people do generally? Because we have, and of course we can go and spend the time on a mobile phone and so on, but I can do exactly the same in the office. So I think that we are testing something without even helping the people to understand that for the meaningfulness of the activity which they will do, they have to change their life a little bit or adjust. And this is not what we are saying. We are just not measuring whether there will be enough money for the people, whether they can buy food, and that's all. And I think that this part is missing. It should be included in the trials.
Right. And to me, that comes down to purpose. And a lot of people, it's funny, you go to a party and the guys say, hi, I'm Bill. What do you do? Right? Meaning, what is your job? And in the olden days, women didn't do that. They didn't say, what do you do? But that's our purpose in life. That's how we define ourselves by kind of job we have. So, and right now, I had a get together with all of my siblings. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and this summer we got together, and we're all in the same sort of time of our lives. That is, retiring, getting ready to retire, planning what is going to fill our days, and so on. And it's a real challenge. It's not as if you can just stop work and now you stay home, or and if people don't have other things that give them purpose, then they're kind of lost. And it takes years. I've been winding down for the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm not there yet. I don't know how people do it who just stop. They have a retirement dinner, they get a gold watch, and they just stop. It's interesting, but this is time also, and I think that if I understood that better, I could answer your question, Kevin, about what do people do with that 5th day that they're now being given.
In a way, COVID was it gave us like a dry run.
Yes.
I went out and bought an electric guitar. It's something I've wanted to do for 40 years, and so
good for you.
Yeah, and didn't have a clue, but just had such a great time tormenting this poor instrument. But I didn't consider it anything but pleasure. It was so interesting to try something new that we'd never otherwise get the chance to do.
And I think one of the reasons why it makes so much pleasure is because it was generally not planned. You didn't plan for that when you will be whatever, you will buy a guitar and you will learn. No, it came. The COVID gave you the opportunity, you used the opportunity. And I think that this is exactly the moment, because if we are not prepared in a way of planning, we are living the best time of our life, usually. But this is completely switch of the mindset. So we have 1 minute 15.
Which is actually, that then brings us on to, because of the way we use time, time kills any kind of improvisation.
That's right. It looks like that it can encourage, but generally you become so much restricted by these limits that the real improvisation is not there. It's you do not have the right time to do it. So, but let me say thank you to all and everyone who was listening. Have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free and visible. And of course, enjoy your time. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.